The servants whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, as concerning orders number 32.2, I'd like to ask the sergeant to ring the quorum bell for the first 5 minutes. Honorable members, I can spot. I'm not spotting the majority leader, but I can spot Honorable Adega on the seat. Please, can you confirm if you have quorum?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have the quorum in the House. Thank you.
Okay, Clerk, can you take us through the order paper of the day?
Thank you, Madam Speaker and honorable members. Order paper number 248 of Wednesday, 16th October 2024 at 9 a.m. Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Yes, Honorable Sethukum.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me on behalf of the Chair of Health, Medical Services, Public Health and Sanitation to lay a paper.
I have the communication. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pursuant to the standing order. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pursuant to the standing orders number 182, part 6, I wish to table today, Wednesday, 16th October 2024, report of Medical Services, Public Health and Sanitation Committee on the matter of mosquito invasion in Kisumu County, statement sought by the Honorable Ruben Rakwach, the MCA for Lower East. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I'd like to confirm receipt of the report on the inquiry into the matter of the ongoing mosquito invasion in Kisumu County, a matter sought by the MCA for Kolua East, Honorable Ruben Rakwach, by the Committee on Medical Services, Public Health and Sanitation, and I'd like to commit it to the House Business Committee for scheduling. Yes, Honorable Karen Odhiambo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to lay this paper. Pursuant to the provisions of Orders 182.6 of the Standing Orders, I wish to table today, Wednesday, 16th October 2024, report of Finance and ICT Committee on matter raised by Honorable Nereo Kombo regarding delayed or incomplete disbursement of the budgetary funds to the County Assembly. Thank you.
Honorable members, I'd like to confirm receipt of the report on a matter raised by Honorable Nereo Kombo regarding the delayed or incomplete disbursement of budgetary funds to the County Assembly by the Finance and ICT Committee, and I'd like to commit it also to the House Business Committee for scheduling. Yes, Honorable Nancy Matara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Pursuant to the provision order of 182.6 of the standing orders, I wish to table today, Wednesday, 16th October 2024, report of the Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs Committee on the status of the various cultural sites and football pitches within the Kisumu County. Thank you.
Honorable members, I'd like to confirm receipt of the report on status of various cultural sites and football pitches within the county from the Committee on Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs. I'd also like to commit this to the House Business Committee for scheduling. Next order, clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Seto Kumu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pursuant to standing orders number 45.1, I wish to give a notice of motion that this House adopts the report on the inquiry onto the state of the... No. Sorry, Madam Speaker, the phone has just gone off, but let me find it again. Madam Speaker, pursuant to the standing order number 45-1 of the County Assembly Standing Order, I want to give a notice of motion that this House adopts the report of Medical Services Public Health and Sanitation Committee on the matter of mosquito invasion of Kisumu County, a statement sought by the Honorable Ruben Rakwach. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Karen Odhiambo.
Thank you once again, Madam Speaker. That pursuant to the provisions of orders number 45-1 of the standing orders, this House adopts the report of Finance and ICT Committee on a matter raised by Honorable Reo Kombo regarding delayed or incomplete disbursement of budgetary funds to the County Assembly. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Nancy Matara.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That pursuant to the provisions of orders number 45-1 of the standing orders, this House adopt the reports of Sports, Culture and Youth Affairs Committee on the status of various cultural sites and football pitches within Kisumu County.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 7, statements.
Honorable members, it's a statement hour. So it's open for any statement. Next order, clerk.
Commencement of business, order number 8. Adoption of the report of the Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services on the inquiry onto the state of early childhood education program in Kisumu County by Honorable Seth Okumu.
Go ahead, Honorable Seth Okumu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to move a motion for adoption on the report of the Committee on Education, Vocational Training and Social Services onto the inquiry of the state of early childhood education program in Kisumu County. Madam Speaker and honorable members, we recognize that childhood years are a crucial period for development of young children's physical health, as well as motor, social, emotional, cognitive, and language skills. Honorable members, early childhood education programs is therefore a critical component in the education system, laying the foundation for lifelong learning, cognitive development, and social integration for children. Honorable members, the Kisumu County government, pursuant to the 4th schedule of the Constitution 2010, is mandated to ensure that early childhood development and education is accessible and of high quality. However, growing demand of this sector, coupled with emerging challenges, necessitate a comprehensive assessment to ascertain the program's current state and efficacy. Honorable members, in light of this, the Committee on Education, Vocational Training and Social Services initiated an inquiry into the state of early childhood education programs in the county as from 25th July to 11th September 2024 and conducted site visits in sampled ECD centers within the county. Honorable members, this inquiry sought to provide in-depth review of the program's implementation, identify gaps, and recommend actionable solutions aimed at enhancing the quality and accessibility of early childhood education within the county. Honorable members, following the report from stakeholders received by the committee, concerns regarding teacher shortages, inadequate facilities, and inconsistencies in funding were raised, prompting the need for systematic inquiry into the status of ECD programs in the county. Honorable members, when we were doing the inquiry, these were the objectives. One was to evaluate the adequacy of physical infrastructure. 2 was to examine the status of teacher recruitment, training, and employment terms. 3, we were assessing the funding and budgetary allocation dedicated to ECDs and their impact on service delivery. 4, we reviewed the implementation of ECD curriculum in line with national guidelines and identify any areas for improvement. 5 was to investigate the enrollment, retention, and completion rates of children in ECD centers. 6 was to examine the health and nutrition programs associated with ECD centers, focusing on effectiveness of feeding programs and health services. 7 was to assess the level of parental and community involvement in ECD and its impact on program success. And lastly was to identify challenges faced by ECD programs and propose viable solutions to address them. Honourable members, you realize with those objectives, we came up with a very good report for members to adopt. Honourable members, this report is therefore structured to provide an overview of the key findings from the inquiry and analysis of the issues affecting the state of ECD in Kisumu County, a detailed recommendations on how to improve the program. The committee's findings are based on site visits of the sampled ECD centers and analysis of available data on early childhood education. Honourable members, the overarching goal of this inquiry is to ensure that Kisumu County meets its obligation under the Constitution and international best practices in delivering quality early childhood education. By addressing these challenges, honourable members, and optimizing the available resources, the county can better equip its youngest learners for future success, contributing to broader educational goals and social development. Honourable members, I will go straight with those objectives. I'll go straight to the findings and analysis of the state of early childhood in Kisumu County. Honourable members and Madam Speaker, the inquiry revealed both progress and significant challenges in achieving desired standards for the provision of early childhood education within the county. The committee made a comprehensive analysis of finding against required national and international standards for ECD, highlighting key areas where the county has fallen short or made gains. So I'll start with learner enrollment and access to ECD services. Honourable members, that the learner enrollment in ECD centers dropped from 58,022 in 2017 to 43,448 in 2023. That's a very significant reduction. The decline is primarily attributed to the removal of baby class following policy shift. You appreciate that we, as a country, had agreed that we should not take our kids to school until they reach the age of 3 years. So the removal of baby class has really reduced our enrollment. Remember that despite the overall decline in enrollment, gross enrollment improved from 50% in 2017 to 79% in 2022. But this falls of a target of 95%. So, honourable members, out of 100 kids who are supposed to be joining school, only 8 are able to join. But we had made a target of around at least 9 kids. So you appreciate that. Honourable members, that transition rate increased from 54% to 93%, and the retention rate improved from 59% to 90%. Those who are moving from one class to the other or from ECD to primary schools has increased from 54 to 93. And those who come to school and finish the ECD education also increased from 59 to 90%. But this has remained below our target of 95%. Mr. Speaker and honorable members, pursuant to the Basic Education Act 2013, the government is committed to ensuring universal access to education at all levels, including ECD. The target gross enrollment rate of 100% for all children Kisumu County 79% enrollment, which improve is still far below this national benchmark. The national government wants that any child who is supposed to be of school-going age should be in school. So, but we are at 79%. So it means still we have 21% who are not enrolled in school. Other members, internationally, under the Sustainable Development Goal 4 on education, government is expected to ensure that all children have access to quality early childhood education by 2030. Kisumu County's enrollment and retention rates show progress towards these global targets, but there are significant gaps, particularly in rural areas where access remains challenging. The target of 95% gross enrollment set by the county, though ambitious, needs additional strategic interventions to be achieved. Honourable members, I will go to the teacher staffing and teacher-learner ratio. That based on statistical data, the number of pupils and teachers in every ECD center submitted before the committee, the following are the current teacher-learner population per zone. Honourable members, I want to take keen interest on this. We, as Kisumu County, have the village as the smallest unit of development, but the Department of Education still uses zones in the analysis of the data that they're having. So in Kisumu Central constituency or sub-county, they have divided them into zones. So they have Manyata zone, Southern and Central zone. So in Manyata zone, they have 484 students. They have 22 teachers, which is giving a ratio of 1 to 22 students. 1 teacher to 22 students. And they have a deficit of only 3 teachers. In Southern zone of Kisumu Central, they have 700 pupils with 21 teachers, giving a ratio of 34 students to 1 teacher, and they have a deficit of only 9 teachers. In the Central zone, in Kisumu Central, they have 1,202 pupils with 33 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 37, which gives a deficit of 22 teachers. I want to remind you, honorable members, that the recommended international ratio of teacher to student is 1 to 25. For every 25 pupils, there should be 1 teacher. So you can see the difference. In Kisumu West sub-county, Nyaera zone has 1,555 pupils with 30 teachers, giving a ratio of 52 pupils for every teacher, with a deficit of 24 teachers. Otonglo zone has 955 pupils with 25 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 39 and a deficit of 40 teachers. In Ojola, we have 1,954 with 35 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 teacher to 55 pupils with a deficit of 28 teachers. Chulaimbo has 819 pupils with 17 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 49 and a deficit of 28. In Sianda, we have 1,376 pupils with 25 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 55 and a deficit of 34 teachers. In Kisumu East sub-county, Nagumo zone has 1,538 with 44 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 35 and a deficit of 16. In Kajulu, we have 911 students with 28 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 33, a deficit of 7 teachers, and Ruea zone has 1,667 with 38 teachers, giving a ratio of 1 to 44 and a deficit of 17 teachers. In same sub-county, Barkorua zone has 1,145 with only 15 teachers, giving a ratio of 77 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 36 teachers. Otienya zone has 1,195 with only 18 teachers, giving a ratio of 67 pupils per teacher, giving a deficit of 36 teachers. In Manywanda zone, We have 2,192 with 28 teachers, giving a ratio of 79 pupils per teacher and giving the zone a deficit of 60 teachers. Kitmikai zone has 1,770 pupils with only 19 teachers, giving a ratio of 94 pupils to every teacher and a deficit of 46 teachers. Kombewa zone has 1,521 with only 24 teachers, giving a ratio of 64 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 44 teachers. Going to Nyando, we have Awasi zone with 1,814 with 26 teachers, giving a ratio of 70 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 49. Nyang'ande zone, which covers the Honorable Pete Oiko's ward, has 2,022 students with only 26 teachers, giving a ratio of 78 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 41 teachers. Rabur zone has 1,872 with only 31 teachers, giving a ratio of 61 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 45. And Ahero zone has 2,675 with 37 teachers, giving a ratio of 73 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 48 teachers. Moroni sub-county, which has 5 wards, has been divided into zones, and we have Menara zone, which has 1,696 pupils with 22 teachers, giving a ratio of 78 teachers, 78 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 48 teachers. Bombay has 2,227 pupils and only 20 teachers. And I think this might be the third highest, with a ratio of 112 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 50 teachers. Other members, Miwani zone has 720 pupils only and 14 teachers, and the ratio is 52 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 21 teachers. Masogo has 1,694 with 16 teachers, giving a ratio of 105 pupils for every teacher and a deficit of 46 teachers. And Chemelil has 1,367 with only 18 teachers, giving a ratio of 76 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 42 teachers. Other members, in Nyakach, which is the last sub-county, we have Sigoti zone with 767 pupils and 13 teachers, giving a ratio of 159 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 24 teachers. Oboch zone has 1,374 with 16 teachers, giving a ratio of 86 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 47 teachers. Papoliti has 1,874 and only 18 teachers, giving a ratio of 105 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 45 teachers. You can see the numbers of the members. Every teacher is looking at 105 pupils. Other members, Bondo, with 1,235 pupils, has only 11 teachers, giving a ratio of 113 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 45 teachers in that zone. Katito has 1,945 pupils and only 20 teachers, giving a ratio of 98 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 49 teachers. Bolo zone has 1,079 other members, and if you can see that with 1,079, they only have 7 teachers. 7 teachers. 1,079 pupils only having 7 teachers, giving a ratio of every teacher to look at 155 pupils. How possible is that? Remember, the international recommendation is only 25. but you are giving a teacher 155 pupils to look at. So they need additional 33 teachers to meet those standards. Lisana has 1,267 with only 16 teachers, giving a ratio of 78 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 33 pupils. And Kodingo zone has 1,444 pupils and only 11 teachers, with giving a ratio of 131 pupils per teacher and a deficit of 37 teachers. So if we are to add the total number of pupils we're having in Kisumu County, currently is around 39,732, and we only have 760 teachers. So averagely, we have 66 pupils for every teacher. If we were to be very fair, we only have an average of 66 pupils for every teacher. And for us to meet the standards that I had talked about before, we need an additional of 1,213 teachers. Other members, you remember we passed in this assembly that we need to be employing teachers, and we only advertised for 100, yet the deficit is 1,213. Other members, I will go. The National ECD Policy Framework recommends that I've mentioned of a ratio of 1 to 25 for effective instruction and quality learning. Kisumu County has a ratio of 1 to 66, which means we are doing very, very poorly. Other members, I will go to infrastructure and learning. Based on the implementation report submitted to the committee by the department, there are 653 ECD centers in Kisumu County. 303 classrooms had been constructed by the county government as at 30th June 2023. This leaves a deficit of 1,003 classrooms, as many centers do not have enough space to accommodate the average of 66 learners per classroom. Honourable members, you can remember the size of classroom that we construct. I think we do classrooms that can accommodate up to, 35 kids. But here we are giving a teacher, some teachers are given up to 155 kids. So where do we put other kids if the classroom can only accommodate 35? Other members, 42% of planned latrine construction projects were completed, leaving 379 centers without adequate sanitation. There are three, like I mentioned, we have 653 centers and 379 do not have adequate sanitation for our children. Other members, 20% of ECD centers have water tanks, leaving 522 centers without sufficient access to clean water for hygiene and sanitation. Other members and Madam Speaker, the Kenya ECD infrastructure standards recommend that each ECD center should have at least 2 classrooms. And I believe you know the classrooms are PP1 and PP2, P primary 1 and P primary 2. Adequate sanitation facilities, and that is 1 toilet for every 30 learners, and reliable water supply. The Kisumu County classroom deficit is alarming and fails to meet these standards. Honourable members, from those reports that I have mentioned up above. Honourable members, I will go to our school feeding program after doing the infrastructure. Madam Speaker and honourable members, the school feeding program, an essential component of improving attendance and retention of ECD, received only 3.5% of the required resources during financial year 2022-2023, and the same has not been reported in 2023-2024. Remember, of all the fundings that the feeding program requires, we can only provide 3.5%. That means 96.5% is not funded. Honourable members, the insufficient funding for school feeding program has led to irregular provision of meals, particularly to low-income and rural areas where children are highly dependent on school meals for nutrition. This has directly contributed to increased absenteeism and high dropout rates in some centers. Honourable members, I want to do a comparative analysis of the feeding program. The Kenya School Feeding Program Guidelines emphasizes the importance of regular meals to support learner retention and attendance, particularly in marginalized communities. Kisumu County initial allocation of 3.5%, which I had mentioned, of the required funding for feeding program is far below the necessary levels to sustain the program and has had a negative impact on learner participation. Honourable members, I will go to budgetary allocation and funding constraints. The county annual allocation to ECDs focusing on infrastructure, teacher salaries, and learning materials are insufficient to address key gaps such as teacher recruitment, construction of classroom, and school feeding programs. The lack of adequate funding has hampered the county's ability to meet its target for recruiting ECD teachers, sub-county coordinators, and ward coordinators. This shortfall has weakened the overall management of ECD services and affected quality education delivered to learners. Honourable members, I will go now to stakeholder collaboration and support. And you remember that was the objective, another objective for doing this analysis. The county government has worked on various partners, including NGOs and international development agencies, to support ECD programs, particularly in training and infrastructure development, such as construction and equipping of Kanonyongo and Obolo ECDs. The parental engagement in ECD centers has been inconsistent, although some parents participate in school management committees and provide support for learning, and many are disengaged, particularly in rural areas. Honourable members, our parents, most of the parents of the students we have in our ECD centers do not appreciate their role in early childhood education and development. Honourable members, having said all those, these are our recommendations. Honourable members and Madam Speaker, we have short-term recommendations of up to 1 year, and I will start with, to address the shortages and enhance staffing level, we recommend that the county government prioritize recruiting ECD centers to lower the teacher-pupil ratio, which stands at 1:60. Honourable members, especially on those zones where we have teacher-pupil ratios going above 70, I think in this recruitment we need to prioritize giving them teachers. And I feel for that zone that had 1 to 55 students. Other members, to improve sanitary, other members, to improve sanitary facilities, the Department of Education should urgently address sanitation issues. The inquiry revealed severe deficiencies, and I mentioned that 379 centers do not have proper sanitation facilities. And as an example, we have mentioned Kianja ECD. We visited Kianja ECD, and they had dug a latrine. I think because the place is waterlogged, I think the latrines keep sinking. So they have several holes that they have dug, but they could not do any construction because of that problem. So up to now, Kianja ECD does not have a latrine. The contractor was given the latrine, had dug a hole, but because the ground is sinking, I think he has failed to complete it. In equipping ECDs with essential learning materials, other members, we had noted lack of essential learning materials in many centers, including play mats and sleeping mattresses. The department should distribute learning materials such as toys, mats, age-appropriate for teaching aid in all centers and provide sleeping mattresses to ensure learners have rest time during school hours. Some centers lack sufficient furniture, and we need immediate redistribution of available furniture and procurement of additional furniture to ensure all learners have access to proper seating arrangements. On the school feeding program, which we can only fund 3.5%, we need to liaise with other stakeholders to help us in funding school feeding program so that we improve on learner retention and also on nutrition of the children that we have in our schools. All members on data collection and record keeping, we recommend that centers which do not have registries, which hinders them from effective planning, we recommend that the department should standardize record keeping across all ECD centers and train teachers and center managers in basic data management skills to improve accountability. In the ADP that we are discussing right now, the department has proposed that we have early childhood education information management system, where we can have data of all our teachers, all our students, all number of furnitures in these institutions, so that when we are planning, we know what is missing where, and then we can address. All the members, on the long-term infrastructure, development and maintenance, the county government should construct permanent classroom facilities since ECDs centers within the county still face significant infrastructure deficit. To address this, therefore, the department should construct new classrooms in centers. Play areas should be developed in ECD centers. Members, we appreciate and had said that we have 653 centers and we lack 1,003 classrooms. So that deficit is still too big that we need to plan for construction of more ECD classrooms to accommodate our children. You know, we have schools that have high number of students and might need more than 2 classrooms. But we are recommending at least 2 classrooms to accommodate PP1 and PP2. On sanitation, I had said that 379 centers do not have proper sanitation that is can accommodate the young souls that we are taking care of in our early childhood education centers. So we are saying that by the end of 5-year period, ECD centers should have adequate sanitation and access to clean water. The county should install permanent latrines and ensure that they meet hygiene and health standards and set up reliable water supply. So members, as we plan for water provision for our communities, let's also take into consideration that we have ECD. Right now we are talking about integrated development. We can construct or drill boreholes in our ECD centers and use that to provide water for both the schools and the communities. And should we have waters close to our institutions, let's take into consideration that our ECD centers equally require water, both for sanitation and for use in those schools. All members, on budgeting, the ECD sector should be provided with enhanced budgetary support. The annual capitation of 25 million for ECDs in Kisumu County is insufficient. The county should gradually increase budgetary allocation to ECD infrastructure, staffing, and operational cost, and leverage partnership with development agencies in the private sector to co-finance critical projects like classroom construction, sanitation facilities, and teacher training programs. I was talking to my brother, the Honorable James Omolo, and he has this partner who has a plan of assisting in construction of ECDs, but he wants a co-financing, a co-funding kind of approach. And we were proposing that for this to work, we need to start doing capitation for construction of our ECDs, so that this money is sent to the ECD centers, and we have boards of management to help manage this fund, so that anybody who is willing, because like in this case, we have partners who are willing to fund 50% of that cost. We'll only incur 50% cost of construction of an ECD if we can have such arrangement of sending capitations to ECD centers for construction of ECD classrooms. Other members, our recommendation on the teacher recruitment and training, the county government through County Public Service Board should transition more ECD teachers to permanent and pensionable. following the example of 655 teachers already transitioned. This will improve teacher retention and job security and attract more qualified. The department should invest in continuous professional development of ECD teachers and improve teaching quality, modern pedagogical practices, and classroom management, particularly in handling special needs children. Honorable members, we are also recommending inclusive education for special need learners. The sample data highlight the presence of children with disabilities in some centers. The committee therefore recommends the department should establish inclusive learning environment to all ECD centers. So we should have classroom built with ramps so that kids who have wheelchairs can still access classrooms. So in our plan for our ECD centers, we should have a plan that includes children with disability. Honorable number 6, we are recommending digitization and monitoring systems, and to enhance accountability and streamline operations of ECD sector. The committee recommends that the department should develop and implement digital platform and use data collected to inform policy and budgetary decisions. I had mentioned that there's a plan to have early childhood education information management system, and I believe this will address this. Other members, in conclusion, to achieve high quality ECD services in Kisumu County, it's essential to implement both immediate actions and long-term strategic reforms, improving teacher staffing, addressing critical infrastructure gaps, providing adequate sanitation facilities, and enhancing learning environment will contribute to creating a robust ECD system in line with the national vision and international standards. Collaborative efforts involving the county government, community, and external partners are key to the successful transformation of ECDE in Kisumu County. Therefore, on behalf of the wonderful Committee on Education, Technical Training, and Innovation and Social Services, I wish to move this motion for consideration by the Honorable House, and I wish to call upon the Honorable the Vice Chair, the Honorable Vitalis Oleo Komudo, the Honorable Member for Moroni Koru, to second.
Honorable members, and now that the report by the Committee on Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services on the inquiry into the state of early childhood education program in Kisumu County has been presented, seconded, and as per standing orders, I want to propose a question. And I propose that the report by the Committee on Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services on the inquiry on the state of early childhood education program in Kisumu County is now open for debate. Yes, Honorable Caroline Lawino-Parr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute on the First, I would like to commend the committee for the elaborate work that they did. Actually, being one of the teachers, I really commend the committee for having done a very good work. Now, we know that education is the backbone of our economy, and if the foundation is not well laid, then it means the child will not have a good upbringing. So ECD is a very important aspect in education, and therefore it must be given all that it needs so that we can have our children to learn. Now, one, we are talking of the challenges of infrastructure. Now, we know that infrastructure is very important, because if the children are overcrowded in a class, the teacher will not have enough space and time to look after the children. Now, and more so when we talk about the sanitary part of it, the toilets. These children, they are very delicate and we know that they are very young. So if their health is not well taken care of, they might get diseases. Now we know that once a child goes to the toilet, the child should at least come out and wash their hands, because they are normally taught how to wash their hands. So if there is no water and there is no proper toilets, it means that these children are endangered. And I'm very glad that the committee noticed this school, Kianja. I also visited the school, and those children are really endangered because the contractor just dug 2 holes, left those holes. They are very dangerous. The children are playing there. It is good that the head teacher tried to cover the hole with mabatis. And the children, being very inquisitive, they are trying to check what is covered down there. So it is very dangerous for the children who are learning at Kianja. And that one should be taken as I think there should be immediate action to be taken so that those children are not endangered. Now too, when we talk of the teachers, we know if a teacher has so many children in a class, the teacher will not attend well to the children. If you have over 100 children and your counterpart has 30, the person who has 30 pupils will tend to give more attention to the children, and the children will perform well. So when the committee came up with the recruitment of teachers, I second that. Now, when it comes to these learners, they are still young. If you give them a lot, they tend to go off. So at a particular point, they need to rest. So I support this idea of the children getting their rest time. They should get the things to, the mattresses that they can use to sleep, and then they will also love school. You know, if you stress them more, that is when you find the child, when you try waking the child early in the morning, the child will just cry. But when the atmosphere is conducive in the school, the child will tend to love the school more. So feeding program, we know that is also very key. When a child is hungry, nothing can get into the head of the child. So this feeding program should be taken care of well. So with those few remarks, I beg to second. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Tom Onditi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me to join the queue by thanking the committee for a job well done. Madam Speaker, this report has highlighted very key and pertinent issues as far as the education sector is concerned. Madam Speaker, it has been said time and again, which is true, that education is the cornerstone within which the human capacity development revolves around. I totally agree with that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think this report, you remember, as has been said, sometimes back this House passed a report here for the employment of more, actually to be precise, there were 200 ECD teachers. Unfortunately, only 100 has been advertised. Madam Speaker, if you look at the deficit of teachers in centers as has been highlighted in this report, Madam Speaker, I think we are still far short of the number, even if you would have done the 200, Madam Speaker. And I think this should be a challenge to the department to reconsider hiring more teachers so that we can bridge the gap.
Order, honorable members. Someone is playing a video in the house, which is not allowed. Honorable, did you go ahead?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for that protection. Madam Speaker, Honorable Koyo has just arrived late. You know, he's a guy who comes from a peri-urban center. He loves chips of town, so he's a bit agitated. Madam Speaker, I think this report should be instrumental, particularly now that the department or the county is going on with the recruitment of teachers. I think while in the process of recruitment, I think this report should guide the process of recruitment more and put a lot of emphasis on areas that have a higher deficit of teachers so that they get more than others, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the final point is that if you look at the infrastructure development as captured in this report, Madam Speaker, you realize about 19 or 22 wards that have been identified here. But the report has clearly brought out that the problem of a lack of facilities is something that cuts across the county. I wonder why only a few areas have been selected by the department. If it is a problem of challenges of resources allocation, Madam Speaker, at least would have been some level of equity, either 1-1 or 2-2 per ward, so that at least we bridge the gap simultaneously as we come. But you look at the report, some areas have got 5, others have got nothing. So I don't know which criteria the department was using to allocate or to identify areas where they are putting budget to construct the classrooms. With those few remarks, I beg to support. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable James Omolo. I've noticed you, Honorable Mildred Ajumbo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the thorough work they have done. Madam Speaker, data is very important, and I think the committee has highlighted some data here which the House need to consider and check where we are heading as a county. Madam Speaker, it is very unfair that some zones have this kind of ratio, 1 to 155, 1 to over 100 kids, 1 teacher to 100 kids. While you find some zones have a minimal like 1 to 49. This is very not fair. And I think as a county, we have to be very fair to our learners. Madam Speaker, even the data we have, if we would have gone per school, per center, you would find that there are centers with 1 teacher to over 200 pupils, learners. A case in point is Nyadina Primary ECD, which, as we speak, has only 1 teacher from the county and over 250 kids in 1 classroom. You can imagine what disjustice we are doing to these learners. And this is replicated in many other areas. Madam Speaker, how I wish that when the Public Service Board will be recruiting the teachers, that we be fair to those zones. I think the data is there and it's clear. So as a people who are watchdog to the public, we need to be very fair and really consider those zones before we go further. Madam Speaker, I was there in the first assembly when we were recruiting the first teachers to the centers. We had over 700 teachers recruited to 600 schools. Then the county did a mistake of giving not per school, because we had 700 teachers which could go to every school within the county. But we ended up that some schools to date still don't have a center manager or a teacher. To date. And that data is there in this report, which has been really highlighted, that when we are moving forward, at least we need each school to have, each center to have at least a teacher when the recruitment will be going on, so that we be fair to those learners. Madam Speaker, on the issue of ECD infrastructures, this county has over 600 centers. Whatever we have achieved within the 13 years of devolution is an ISO. We have achieved so little. For example, in my ward, we have only managed to do 3 classrooms for the entire 12 years plus. You can imagine we have 28 centers in that ward, and we have only managed 3 in over 10 years. And this is cutting across many wards which have so many ECD centers. It is our wish that all learners to be in a permanent building done by the county. And I would support Chair ECD has mentioned that we can achieve so much infrastructure if we go capitation way. Just like the same way the CDF, NG-CDF does with the primary schools. They have really done a lot of classrooms. In my sub-county alone, we have over 200 schools. But the CDF has tried to touch every school with the capitation to the school to do classrooms on their own. We can only also do this. And Madam Speaker, it is not rocket science. The Homa Bay County did in this financial year that ended on 30th June this year. They managed to do 160 classrooms using the same formula. Yesterday, but one Kiambu County was launching over 108 ECD centers done in the same manner. And Kisumu as a county, we are still lagging behind. Most of our infrastructures are stalled because our contractors are not really able to do them. I don't know, for whatever reason. Even when we give enough funding for each ECD center, they still don't complete them. We have stalled projects of ECD centers across the county, and there are several. And if you look at that data, you wonder what is going on. These contractors never finishes any of the contracts, and they abandon the sites at lintel or even at basement. So it would be prudent as a county to maneuver and get another way of achieving this. Madam Speaker, as I end, I think we have to prioritize things in the right way. I know bursary is not our function as such, and I would wish the chair, next year we don't have Form 1s. If some monies in the supplementary could be supplemented to constructing these new classrooms, that would be better, because each ward will save a lot where we don't have Form 1s. We will not have the 10 scholars in the scholarship program. So we can achieve a lot when our priorities are right. So I really beg this House to support this report, because the recommendations really will go a long way to harmonizing the sector. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Yes, Honorable Mildred Ajumbo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the report by the Committee on Education and Technical Training on the inquiry into the state of early childhood education programs in Kisumu County. I've looked at the objectives of the inquiry, Madam Speaker, on the physical infrastructure, teacher recruitment, funding and budgetary allocation, and the curriculum. And I want to say that that was a good objective of the findings. I've looked at the findings on the teacher-learner ratio. And according to international standards and according to national standards, Madam Speaker, we are quite below the standards. When you look at quite a number of ECD centers in my ward, Central Seme, where students are 1,521 with only 24 teachers, a ratio of 1 to 64, Madam Speaker, while the recommended ratio is 1 to 25. I look at the recruitment advertisement, Madam Speaker, that has only allocated 100 teachers to be recruited. And when one ward has a deficit of 44 teachers, Madam Speaker, yet the recruitment is talking of only 100 teachers that are supposed to be recruited, it means that even if we recruit 100 teachers, Madam Speaker, we will still be below the international and the national standards. Madam Speaker, I would recommend, and I would also wish that this assembly would sit down with the education department so that we can discuss some of these issues. Because when you look at the budget allocations, the last financial year, Madam Speaker, it's very sad that in my ward, Central Seme, out of the 3 ECD centers that were to be completed, only 1 was completed. The allocation that was given to this ECD for completion was quite below. You look at an ECD center that has 2 classrooms, two twin classrooms, allocated only 1.2 million. The contractor never reported on site. So it means that going forward, Madam Speaker, when we continue with this idea of budgetary allocation, allocating each year 1 million, 1.2, it means our ECD centers will never be completed. You look at 2013 up to now, quite a number of ECDs in wards have not been completed. They are still under construction. Each year money is allocated and the ECD centers are not completed. And I want to support the committee report on capitation. Yes, other counties are doing it, Homa Bay and Kiambu County. Why don't we try it this coming financial year so that we can put in some money, we see how much we can move with that capitation. Madam Speaker, I stand to support the report. And on school feeding program, Madam Speaker, it's quite sad that only 3.5% resources was allocated to the feeding program, meaning 96.5% is not allocated. So what happens to the small child that goes to school? The child goes to school hoping that there'll be some porridge, and only 3.5% is allocated. So it means quite a number of learners would not even have the urge to go to school, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I support this committee recommendations. This committee went down to the wards. This committee has worked so hard that we need to support this report so that our county can move forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Now, Honorable Kumuda, I saw you standing up. Let me give Honorable Dede the opportunity.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. I've seen you are working in a smart way by showing that the seniority is observed in the room. Madam Speaker, let me start by applauding the committee for work well done. The research which was done by the committee clearly stipulated that we need more ECD teachers to at least assist us. With the recommendation which the committee brought by saying that the regular teaching and recruitment training, they should invest in continuous professional development for ECD in case of teaching quality. We've seen that within our schools, they provided that the ECD should also, in the recruiting system, consider the people living with disability. And another recommendation which said that with the department should work with other national bodies, such as the National Council of People Living with Disabilities, which can also provide other resources for the progress of the children, was also amazing. Also, Madam Speaker, concerning the feeding program, we found that the 3.5% being allocated for the feeding program, to my view, should have been reverted to the capitation, being that the 3.5% which was given to the ECDs, still, if you go to the procurement stages, other issues are still being there, the retention, the 3.5% allocated, not even reaching the institution well, being that is done at the central procurement, so other retentions are there, the 3.5% even not reaching to the ground well. So my opinion was to revert it to the capitation, whereby the schools to budget by themselves, so that whatever the amount allocated to them, they budget by themselves at the school level, because we have the center managers which can provide. And with the ratio which the ECD committee has brought of 1 to 60, I think, to my opinion, should have been reverted to a ratio of at the school level, being that we indicated at the zonal level, we find that in other schools we've got over 100, and if we make it on average at the zonal level, we should have gone to the school level, whereby other schools have got about 100 and about 186, like Alara ECD school, which has got only an ECD teacher. If we get a ratio at the lowest level, being the evolution came at the lowest level, we avoid at the zonal level so that we get the clear picture of each and every school within the region, so that we get the ratio of, like the one for Alara, 1 to 86, not 1 to 64 at the zonal level, being other schools are being disadvantaged while grouped at the zonal level. Madam Speaker, the issue of sanitation, Madam Speaker, we find that in other schools there are a lot of congestion, like Alara ECD school in North Kisumu ward. We've got a population of 186 without a toilet, without water for the use. So the congestion in school with the lack of the facilities like the ablution block causes more harm to our children. So that one should also be considered while budgeting for the resources. Should meet the threshold whereby each and every institution should have an ablution block and water for the sanitation. Madam Speaker, concerning the recruitment of ECT teachers, even though other schools are advantaged, if we talk of Central Kisumu constituency, we find that the deficit is that too low. Like in Manyata, we have a deficit of only 3 teachers. A zone like Manyata, Southern Zone, we've got a deficit of 6. If you go to the next zone, we've got a deficit of 22. So while recruiting the new ECD teachers, even though 100 is to the lower side, the board should at least see how they distribute the teachers, so that where there are a lot of scarcity should be considered first than others in the region. And finally, Madam Speaker, concerning the ECD recruitment, I think we are now doing more harm to our learning institution. It's prudent that instead of recruiting 100 ECD teachers, I think we should have there are some services which you can go without, instead of making our pupils to suffer in schools. Why can't we revert away by, instead of making 70 village admins, they should be abolished. Then take the number, add to the ECD schools, so that most of the ECD schools should be captured. At least we get some quite number. The 70 is village admins. We got to have impact over our lives in future, Madam Speaker. The 70 should be abolished, add the number to the ECD teachers, so that at least our children get proper education. So we are having an issue of 70 village admins, yet we don't even have the structure of the village council which they govern, yet our pupils need to be assisted. Madam Speaker, I rest my case. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Pamela Oyo. A chance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the motion on the floor. Madam Speaker, I want to support the motion, which is well researched and with a lot of facts, with a bit of reservation. I'm supporting what has been said in this report. They are important for our county. We need to uplift the status of our ECD. We need to employ ECD teachers to ensure teachers are well represented in the early learning stage of children. I want to say, Madam Speaker, that my reservation is employing of the ECD teachers, which we need more than 100. But my problem is, before we should pass this report with recommendation that the Minister for Finance should come to this house and give us recommendation if he is able to employ more people into the payroll of Kisumu County. I think Kisumu County has a problem with wage bill. And it is a high time we should evaluate the payroll and see how we can balance the payroll and give the most departments what they require. My recommendation to this report, that we approve this report with the recommendation that the minister be invited to the floor of this house. That even as we employ, are we able to pay those whom we are employing? That is my reservation in this report. Otherwise, I support the report. It is good, it is well documented, well researched, but the implementation. We need an assurance that whatever we are approving, is it going to be implemented? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Komudo. I'll give you the chance now. Honorable Bill, you're next.
Yeah, many thanks. Madam Speaker, I was once more awaiting for humiliation from your chair. Interestingly, you have respected it. Many thanks. I also wish to become senior, as I saw majority of the guys accepted before me were indeed senior than me. One day when I grow up, I wish to become senior. Now, I am privileged this morning to arise and support a very noble report that has been presented by a very capable committee where I belong as the vice chair. Honorable Madam Speaker, together with the honorable members, you will realize from the report that the report is well captured. The report has got deep findings. The report is well articulated. The report is quite explanative in the sense that I want to believe that it is the first time we are having such a report appearing in this house. Why? We are captured in the country as a whole, and it goes into various details. You will realize that Nyakach sub-county situation is pathetic. Is indeed pathetic. No wonder I was watching news last evening and I saw some lady really shouting at the name of my colleague that they have never seen him since he was elected. Now we realize why people cannot be seen. When we don't even have the basic things like ECD classrooms. Honorable James Omolo, I forgive you for what I had in the TV yesterday in the evening. Now, I know some of you do not listen to news. It was wide and it was open in the Citizen TV. And they mentioned other names. Together with them was my colleague also. But that is not distinct. It's not distinct because a number of us are mentioned in a very negative way because of these kind of shortcomings we are facing in the House here. Honorable Madam Speaker, you will realize that the report talks about the shortage of teachers. We are having a whole 60 belonging to one teacher, when the international standards recommends that only 25 pupils or 25 children belonging to a single ECD teacher. I know for sincerity, this is only fair because the report has been presented here. I had my colleagues mentioning that in some cases we have got even more than 200 children per one teacher. The big question tonight, or the big question this morning, like they say in the news that the big show tonight, ours is the big show in the morning. What are the status of the wage bill? The wage bill is blooming and growing vis-a-vis the recruitment of the teachers. We are at 50%. What is the relevant department doing? We would like to know. Like my senior colleague said here, Honorable Pamela, is it true that we should make the relevant department accountable? should they come here so that they are answerable? Because, Honorable Madam Speaker, we keep on making very good recommendations, but where are we ending up with this? Like the senior colleague said, what is the status of implementation? Are we just coming with very good reports like this, then they end up like this? As the vice chair of this particular committee, this report is wonderful. We want to go beyond this. It is high time we'll not just go and sit pretty, that we come with quite magnificent reports here and they end up in this house. We want to see to the bottom of it that the implementation is indeed followed up accordingly. Finally, if you look at the real mandate of the county government, it is all the sole responsibility of the ECDE education. We are really competing with the national government for some bursaries that do not even work for us in a proper way. Remember, this year particularly, we have had to wait all the way up to July for some of the bursaries amounts to be disbursed. Is it time we think that we better do away with some of these things and concentrate on the sole responsibility that is actually mandated to the county government of the ECD things, so that we have enough classrooms, so that we have enough teachers, so that we have got ample sanitation in these facilities across. Today, the situation is pathetic. It is high time we think about in these lines. Like my colleague said, is it worth bringing some people called village admins in the name of earning salary? Is it high time we think of doing away with some of these unnecessary things? And I don't mean that when people earn salary, it is unnecessary. Even us, we earn salary here. But how important is that? Many thanks, Honorable Madam Speaker. I support the report 100%.
Yes, Honorable Bill Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee for good work. At least we have a picture of what Kisumu County is. Madam Speaker, from the report, what I've gathered is that we need, as an assembly, we need as a county government, and we also need the board to have a serious conversation on what direction we are taking Kisumu County. Madam Speaker, we, Committee of Agriculture, we came from Uasin Gishu just recently. And Madam Speaker, going there has made me think that we really need this conversation as a county government, so that at least we see, or rather look at the amount of development that is going to our wards. Madam Speaker, it is sad that as a county government, ECDs are one of the things that are key priorities. But then if you look at the allocation that the department gives, or rather ECDs that they want to construct or they have constructed in every financial year, it is so unfortunate that the priorities are not right as a county government. You've heard members speak of another county constructing around 100 classes in a financial year. I was reading People's Daily, and there's I think it is Kiambu. They are talking about 108 classrooms they are going to construct. Yet, if you look at our Kisumu County government, I don't think in a financial year our classrooms exceed even 20. So it is unfortunate that our priorities are not right as a county government. Madam Speaker, it is high time we talk to the executive and even questioned the strategic plan that they have in every financial year and the priorities that they have, because we can't set priority that we want to develop all sectors 100% in a financial year. it means we are going to do minimal work. We are going to perform minimally in all the departments. Madam Speaker, I think that if we focus in a financial year, in as much as we have to perform in all the sectors, in a financial year, if we give our priority, let's say for this financial year, we say that our priority is ECDs, the Department of Education. And what are we targeting? Are we targeting 100 classrooms, 200 classrooms? At least that will have impact to the electorates and our voters. Because at least we can even say that in every ward, we are going to construct 6 classrooms. And with that, at least work will be seen to be done. But the current structure, the current way in which we are doing things as Kisumu County, I don't think in 5 years, we are going to point a particular department and say that we have really performed in this department, because we are not making it deliberate to perform in a particular sector or even two sectors in a financial year according to our budget. So I think this is a conversation that we should have, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the report, it is unfortunate. 12 years of devolution, and we can talk about wards having at least some of them having 3 classrooms constructed in 12 years. It is unfortunate. It is a signal that we don't have priorities. Our priorities are not set well as a county. Because 12 years of devolution, we should be talking of very many classrooms. Very, very many classrooms. And again, if you look at the recommendations that we have here, that we should be having more teachers. Yes, it is right. But have we had that conversation about the wage bill that we have as a county? And the teachers that we want to employ, what is the impact? What are the financial implications that we are going to have as a county? Because the more we employ, we are increasing on a burden, and it will get on a point where we can't stretch anymore. So we should have these conversations and set our priorities right. If it is the ECD teachers that we want to employ, where are we going to create chances for this? Because we are having a conversation about the village admins here, and you realize that the priority of a county is more on the ECDs, because that is where our mandate truly is. If we are supposed to employ, we should also have another conversation. Which part is necessary? Are we prioritizing the ECD teachers to village admins and other sectors? Because we have reached a level where we really need this discussion. We shouldn't stay under the desk, because it is something that is going to cost this county. And I believe teachers, the ECD teachers, are more important than anything else, because this is a foundation we are setting for our children and our brothers. So we should prioritize this, and any other thing should come second to this. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support the report.
Yes, Honorable Ken Ouko.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Let me commend the committee and the chair under the chairmanship of Honorable Seth for coming up with a detailed and inclusive report from the committee. Madam Speaker, I beg to support this. It is true that our priority is ECD and village polytechnics. Madam Speaker, it is only that we don't respect the priorities we are mentioning each and every time. Had it that we are respecting this, Madam Speaker, we will not be having this kind of scenario. Madam Speaker, this report is like an X-ray done on the chest of a patient who is suffering from a very dangerous disease. Madam Speaker, it is quite unfortunate that we can now compare ourselves to Homa Bay. And Homa Bay, in the last 7 years, everybody was lamenting about Homa Bay and Homa Bay and Homa Bay. But Madam Speaker, within a period of only 2 years, we can now try to benchmark with Homa Bay on issues which we should have done long time ago, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have to be radical on making changes on some of the very outdated policies by the executive. Madam Speaker, it is quite unfortunate when you come up with such kind of radical changes, you will find some people in the name of leadership of the House defending the executive for their own personal gain. Madam Speaker, when you look at the chairs where the leadership of this House and those who have been defending what the executive is doing, you can see all chairs are empty. And now we are discussing very important matters which is concerning the future of our county. Madam Speaker, if we can't streamline issues concerning the ECDs, we will fail, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we must also stand up to be counted. We must hold the bull by the horn. We must make sure that we go the labor-based way, where the money is given to institutions, then the work is going to be done. It has been realized in some other places, like Yambu and Homa Bay. Why are we lamenting and each and every time? But it is the MCAs who have the powers to oversight and make laws concerning these ECDs. We should not be lamenting. This is why it is always prudent that we discuss matters when this leadership, who have always been talking negatively and defending bad policies implemented by the executive, to be sitting here. They are nowhere. When they come here, they will, because they have some interest on such issues. I don't know whether when did they become contractors? I don't know whether they are one. I've never said they are contractors, but I suspect they must be having some interest. That is why each and every time they defend what is bad. And we should also be relevant to what the people expect from us, not what the executive or somebody is expecting. Madam Speaker, when it comes to implementation of these things, the issues, the recommendations here are very good. They are going to work in favor of our own people. But it is unfortunate. We have had a lot of problems when it comes to implementations. We come up with good recommendations, which should be taken by the executive. But you find they are not implemented. I think we should even amend the standing orders so that each committee can follow up on recommendations on their reports. If we can't do it through the implementation committee of the House. Madam Speaker, with all this, it is quite unfortunate that one teacher will handle 185 pupils. Madam Speaker, it is quite unfortunate for Nyakach constituency or sub-county, where we have very few teachers and we expect to excel in future, because this is where we are developing the lives and the futures of our children. And we are failing, and we are claiming that we are doing something very good. Madam Speaker, lastly, I concur with Honorable Dede. Why do we need village admins? If we have the ward admins, why do we need village admins? I recommend that we stop employing village admins and we employ teachers to build our future, instead of people who are earning salary and there is no delivery. They don't have the village councils. They don't discuss anything. They only take orders from the
ward admin. Which can be done by the ward admin. For now, let us prioritize and maximize what we have. We minimize wastages to maximize production. It is very important for us to do that. And I therefore recommend that the statement be brought to this house, that we do away with the village admins to employ the teachers that will help our future. Thank you. Remember, you will not be here for good. We must make a change while we are here. Tomorrow it is somebody else. But while we are here, what did we make that can convince anybody? The radical changes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Were.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to support the report. Madam Speaker, the committee is commendable. They've done a commendable work, and I must thank the chair. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the component of the report, several key issues have been raised. And Mr. Speaker, if we start by feeding, Mr. Speaker, feeding has a lot of advantages to our children. Mr. Speaker, pupils who are well fed are attentive. Madam Speaker, I think when they're attentive, it means even the performance is enhanced. Mr. Speaker, as I support this, I want all to concur with my colleagues that let this be done at institution level. Let these institutions be given money so that they can purchase those food by themselves. Mr. Speaker, the report also talks about the recruitment of more ECDs. Madam Speaker, I know that this was considered even in our current budget. But Madam Speaker, even before we do this, we must all agree that our resource envelope is challenged. But Madam Speaker, I want to suggest that as we strive to recruit more ECD teachers, let us do it on a need basis. Let us go in all the sub-counties that we have. We assess the need so that we can recruit as per the needs in those areas. Madam Speaker, there's also provision of recruiting even vocational training teachers because we've also identified that there's a need in those areas. And Madam Speaker, if I look at the statistic, Nyalenda alone has gotten students that have benefited from vocational training. There's a lot of flow. We are giving those VTCs a lot of students, but they are faced with challenge that there is not enough teachers that can take care of those students. So, Madam Speaker, there is need. But as we do this, do we have enough money to do this? That's why we as a county must sit down, must have a conversation. How best can we do it? Can we set our priorities right? What is it that we do not need that can have we can take it as a backbench? What is it that we need that we must urgently address so that we set our priorities right? Madam Speaker, I'm also happy that as we do even infrastructural development, we are considering the plight of special needs. Our institutions are designed that they must be disability friendly. when we get to build classrooms, they have got ramps that accommodate the wheelchairs. That is something that is important to listen to, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Pet.
Madam Speaker, I also want to make a little contribution on this report. My first contribution will be to congratulate Governor Nyong'o for what he did when he became the governor of Kisumu County. The ECD teachers had been employed by the previous government, and they were employed without terms and conditions of services. They were like casuals. The government of Nyong'o converted this to permanent and pensionable, and with a scale which has encouraged our ECD teachers despite the challenges they are facing. And it is not easy to overcome all the challenges within no time. It will take time, Madam Speaker. What he did was goodwill for this country. Madam Speaker, when I look at this report, the report is saying that our ECD pupils don't have enough classrooms. That means they are learning in the open air, under trees, during the hot seasons, and when the weather is chilly, they are really suffering. What can we do as a country to solve this problem? I'm seeing in this report that there is capitation of 25 million that has been used to build some classrooms. I wish those where those classrooms have been built could have been stated here. And we need to follow that where has that capitation been used? That is a homework for this assembly. Madam Speaker, when Governor Nyong'o came to power, and we realized the condition of our ECDs, we came up with a plan to buy for them furniture and tables, because that was a low-lying fruit that could help our pupils. And we did it. But it has taken time, because for us to build these 1,003 classrooms will take time. So if we can ask the executive to allow us to go back to buying of furniture for this our children, so that they can have what to sit on. Sitting on the grass, when it is dry, a lot of dust. When it is raining, a lot of mud. We need to look into that. Madam Speaker, the feeding program was there. But this feeding program, it looks like it has been dying away. Why? When it is a very essential program for our children. A department must have become careless on this program, and that is the Department of Finance. Because the bills for the feeding program were never paid. When we came, rice was being supplied by the National Irrigation Authority. The bill was not paid for 2 to 3 years. Then the government turned to buying rice from Tanzania. Instead of dealing with a government institution, they turned to dealing with individuals. And nowadays, when you walk around, you hardly hear of the feeding program. And if it is an important component of in learning in the ECD environment, why should we fight it? Why should it fail? That one, the committee must look into and bring for us the report. And Madam Speaker, another problem we have Madam Speaker, in this report, we could have been told the total number of ECD classrooms that are needed. That could have been here in black and white, but it is not indicated. We are left to calculate. Like when we go to, there is a column here from page 14 to page 21. We are left to calculate the total number of classrooms that are needed. The committee should have given us that. And when I go to page 24, on page 24 is a 25 million capitation, which I've raised. Let me go to page 35. Yeah, page 35 is also the feeding program. So in overall, Madam Speaker, when we are talking about the failure by the government to build enough ECD classrooms in Kisumu County, the problem comes back to us as elected leaders. What budget do we pass here? Because those things must be in the budget. What budget do we pass here? What budget do we go with to the world? The world-based projects. When award is given 20 million and you want to do all the things in the world, it is not possible. This House must ask the executive for a reasonable allocation for world-based projects. Then we shall be able to do good work for our people. Let me give you an example in this House. When the budget estimate is being discussed, what we are keen on are the world-based projects, which is 20 million per ward, which comes to 700 million. The other one is the pending bills, which you will find stated 1 billion. And the development fund is over 4 billion. The others will hardly see tabulated in the budget. Then you will be taken round with the moving notes, which I know the chairman will seriously challenge, but that is the position in this House. So let us demand to see what the 4.3 billion is entailed to do in Kisumu County. And let us demand good allocation for world-based projects. Then we shall be able to do quite a number of ECD classrooms, the equipment needed for our children. Otherwise, when we just complain at this time, and we don't know at what level we should raise the complaint, we shall reach nowhere. The report is an insight for us to know what has been achieved and what has not been achieved, and we should now focus on how we should move forward. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to submit.
Honorable members, I'm not seeing anyone on his or her feet for any more submission. So let me call the mover to reply.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the members for their contribution onto this report that we brought before them. And I want to thank them for agreeing in all their submissions that we should adopt this project report so that we can find a document that we can use to push for change in Kisumu County. Madam Speaker, I've listened to the submission of honorable members, and I want to start with the last one of the Honorable Benny Petia Oiko. And Honorable Oiko has mentioned that we did not put the number of ECD classrooms required. Honorable Oiko, I think you are in a hurry to read the report. If you look at our recommendations, our findings and analysis on infrastructure, we have mentioned that we have 653 ECD centers, and Kisumu County had constructed 303 classrooms, and the deficit is 1,003. The Honorable Iko has mentioned that we need to invest more on the wards. In the report, we also have a list of the projects that are going to be done in 2024, 2025. The Honorable Member has only appropriated 1.2 million for construction of one classroom in Angola. I'm not sure, it's in Angola ECD. So, Honorable Member, the reason why we brought this report is to implore on members to prioritize ECD, because this is a devolved function. The push and the energy we have in pushing for bursaries, we should channel that onto our ECDs, because ECD is a devolved function. Madam Speaker, we had in this House advocated for employment of ECD teachers. I had mentioned that the national standards require 25 students for every teacher. In our own, knowing the status, the financial status of our county, we had suggested to double that. Let's have at least 50 pupils for every teacher. And that's why we were recommending the additional 200 teachers to give us the 980, at least 980 teachers we require for the 49,000 students that we have in our ECD teachers. So, Madam Speaker, I want that energy that members are using in pushing for bursaries also be used in pushing for the employment of ECD teachers. And just to explain this further, Madam Speaker, I'll take a little bit more time because I want to take them to a table that I did not read in this House. We have a school like Atoya in North Sem that has 107 kids and only one teacher employed by the county government. We have a school like Nyarombo with 87 kids, only one teacher. Mariwa in North Sem, 72 with one teacher. We have a school in Barmathonye, I think that's Southwest, with 132 kids, only one teacher. We have a school, Koruenje, with 105, one teacher. Jonyo, 134, only one teacher. Jimo, 106, only one teacher. Madam Speaker, and all the members, allow me to take you through that whole list. And then you can find for yourself schools that are within your wards and see the gravity of the matter before us. Now, Speaker and honorable members, we have schools, and I want to go, for example, in Kodingo zone. I believe that is Nyakach. We have a school called Aomo with 87 kids and only one teacher. We have a school, Onego, ECD with 156 kids, only one teacher. We have a school, Nyadina, with 142 kids, only one teacher. We have a school, Nyamanyinga, 109 kids, only one teacher. We have a school, Nyawalo, with 123 kids, only one teacher. We have Nyongonga with 125 kids, without a teacher from this report. So for Kodingo zone, we have how many schools? We have close to 5 schools without an ECD teacher. And that is Nyakwere does not have a teacher with 53 kids. St. Patrick's Obange has 85 kids, no teacher. Nyongonga with 126 kids, no teacher. Bala with 137 kids, no teacher. And again in Nyakach we have Obwon ECD with 85 kids and only one teacher. We have Akado in Nyakach, 85 kids, only one teacher. We have a school by the name Ndori RC, 143 kids, only one teacher. We have a school Lisana ECD, 107 kids, only one teacher. We have Moro with 105 pupils, only one teacher. We have Kandiege with 106, only one teacher. Honorable members, you can see the gravity of it. We have a school called St. Mary Oriang in Nyakach with 88 kids without a teacher. Honorable members, we have St. Jerome Andengo with 75 kids without a teacher. We have a school in Bolo, 114 without a teacher. We have Kobongo, and I believe the honorable member really understands. I think this Obijam will understand some of these things. We have Kobongo with 108 kids, no teacher. We have Andengo Panga, 88 kids, no teacher. We have Ombugo, 130 kids, only one teacher. On the members, it's very grave. It's very grave in Nyakach. It's very grave in Seme, in the situation we are. And when I hear a member talk about wage bill, then I don't understand if they are comfortable. There are two departments which, in my opinion, you can never compare the brick and mortar with the number of staff that we are having. Once we are done finishing construction of ECDs, you will never tell us that we can't employ more students because the development does not match the recurrent. The education that was devolved, and for us it's VTC and ECD, it's a service. And in the service, you need the service providers. And the service providers in this situation are the ECD teachers. We cannot conform to the 35% rule when it comes to provision of early childhood education and development. We need teachers, and you can see from that list that we are even doubling the number of pupils per teacher just to get additional 200 teachers for our students to get quality service. So in my opinion, the matter of wage bill for the county does not, is neither here nor there. And I agree with the proposals by the honorable members. It's time for us to prioritize. We can't provide services, and we have provided services, and we are continuing to provide services without a long list of administration officers. But you can't have schools without teachers. From this list, we're having schools without teachers completely. And what those kids are going through, honorable members, we can only experience 10, 15 years later. That's when we'll appreciate that we really needed these students. So it's, to me, it's like an urgent matter that needs urgent solution. And the solution is we need additional teachers, and the 200 that was advertised, it's way below. And if it means cutting off other positions like what that means to get additional teachers, the village admins, will really support, because we need teachers more than anything. Honorable members, I agree by the suggestion that we need to provide furniture for our institutions. Honorable members, students, the pupils that we host in our institutions are very young. And for their development, they need durations where they sleep in those schools. So without providing sleeping mattresses for development, we are missing a point in the development of these children. So I want to agree with the honorable member that suggested that we need to provide sleeping furniture, especially mattress, for these kids so that they can enjoy their learning period in school. Thank you, honorable members, and Madam Speaker, I beg to reply.
And honorable members, and now that the report by the Committee on Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services on the inquiry on the state of early childhood education program in Kisumu County has been presented, seconded and debated, and it's time for me to put a question. And I put that as many as of the opinion that this report by the Committee on Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services on the inquiry on the status of early childhood education program in Kisumu County be adopted, say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. And the ayes have it. And the report by the Committee on Education, Technical Training, Innovation and Social Services on the inquiry into the state of early childhood education program in Kisumu County has been adopted today, Wednesday the 16th of October at 11:08 hours. And I direct that this report, together with the answer, be submitted to the relevant department for purposes of implementation. Next order, clerk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and honorable members. There is no any other business for transaction.
And honorable members, and there being no any other business for consideration, this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday the 16th of October, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.